We had a question from a friend, from a patient. They sent me an article and they said, why is chiropractic so dangerous? This says if somebody cracks their neck, somebody cracked their neck, quote unquote, which is just the release of gas bubbles, by the way, from the synovial joint. If you were just with us, we just lost the video, so we have to redo it. Somebody called us in between, and if they do that, you lose it. But anyway, for those of you that are here, thank you for hopping on. Why is it so dangerous to crack your neck? This person went to the hospital. They're saying never to see a chiropractor. What's going on there? Well, first off, before we even get into the risks, or we should say the lack thereof with a chiropractic adjustment, as it is very, very safe. Let's talk about they said, why would I get a chiropractic adjustment? Well, do you need anything first off? Well, no, you don't. You absolutely don't need anything. You don't need to see a chiropractor. You don't need to go to your medical doctor. You don't need to do anything except for eat, breathe, drink water, sleep eventually, go to the bathroom, right? We really don't need anything, but it's a different story if you want to function optimally. It's a different story if you want to function exceptionally, and if you want to optimize your health. And that goes for optimizing nutrition and exercising and sleeping a lot and seeing a chiropractor, believe it or not. And why is that? We want to optimize the function of our body. So what does that mean? We want to optimize the function of everything that controls how our body functions. And what controls how our body functions? That would be our central nervous system. That would be our brain and spinal cord. If you took away somebody's brain and spinal cord, nothing would work, right? So that's what makes your arm move, your leg kick, makes you feel your hot finger on the stove and pull it off before it gets burnt. Makes you able to see and think and do anything, right? And breathe. And so if we have optimal functioning of the central nervous system, that seems like something obviously that would bode well for the functioning of our entire body. That is correct, right? And so we have our brain and spinal cord, right? Housed, of course, by the skull, and then our vertebrae, which protect the spinal cord and keep us upright, right? Two major functions of vertebra. And if they are misaligned, then they compress on the nerves that travel between the bones, the vertebra, again, and they control different things in our bodies, right? Again, from the motion of the hand to feeling something, to everything, right? To the function of your liver and kidneys and organs and all sorts of anything, right? And so if that nerve impulse is being impeded, if the flow of that nerve signal is being impeded or disrupted, right? If it's being pinched, the nerve, any way you want to look at it, that thing may not function properly. And so it's important to maintain that proper alignment of the spine so that there's no interference with these nervous signals that travel all over your body to control all sorts of things, right? Without getting into any specific levels or anything like that, that is what is important to understand. Do you need to do that? Well, if the signal was being impeded to, down your arm and your hand, and you had a little bit of tingling, right? You had some numbness and tingling, but you could still use your hand. Or you could still go to work. You're just uncomfortable the whole day. You could still do this, you could still do that. No, you don't absolutely need to correct. That might be a good idea. If you leave it like that, it could suffer further damage over time, and eventually that kind of damage could become permanent, right? And we obviously don't want that. But we don't need anything. So what are the benefits and risks of chiropractic care? Right? So when we think of chiropractic, I want you to think of the R's, right? And there's really four big ones that I want to talk about. Reducing nerve irritation, of course, is the first one. We just said you want to reduce the irritation of the nerves and optimize their function throughout the entire body. Right? We're not changing anything about the body. We're just putting it back in its natural alignment and letting the body do its work. That is it. Let the innate capabilities of the human body take over as it is an incredibly powerful and intelligent machine. We just want to give it the tools to do so and remove any obstruction with what it is supposed to do. Right? So that's one. We want to reduce nerve irritation, and that's one benefit of a chiropractic adjustment. Restoring range of motion is another one. and relaxing the muscles that attach to the vertebra, right? And those kind of go hand in hand. That's why I said them at the same time. So restoring range of motion and relaxing the muscles that attach to the vertebra. Somebody often, you'll come in and they can barely turn, right? Maybe the scalenes are all balled up. Maybe there's a misalignment in the mid to lower cervical or upper cervical, all over. It can really be anywhere. But maybe they have a misalignment in the cervical vertebra. Maybe because of that misalignment, they have tight musculature. Maybe because of the tight musculature, they had a misalignment, right? Or, any way that there are tight muscles and misalignments in the spine, it will affect the range of motion, right? It could be something on the other side was too tight and it's causing something to bend this way. That's our job, is to figure that out. Whether it's the scalene on this side that's contracted, and you have torticollis and it's forcing someone into ipsilateral lateral bending and rotating the other way. Whether it's, the levator scap overly tight on this side, or the scalenes or the traps, and someone is stuck and rotating this way. You can't move that far. After you get an adjustment, right? Well, we're freeing up those muscles, not just the nerves, right? We're not just freeing them up, which is, again, the number one benefit, really. But, we are loosening the muscles that attach to these bones, right? They attach to bones all over the place. And you just, without memorizing any anatomy, you don't have to know that the levator scapula attaches from C1 to C4 TVPs, and it comes down and it attaches here between the superior angle and the root of the spine of the scapula, and that's going to pull someone's head like this. You know how to stretch it, things like that. That's our job. So you come in and you're stuck a certain way. Now, it may not be one treatment. I can't promise you we're going to just fix that. You don't really fix anything in one treatment. Also, it's your job to do exercises and do things on your own that we recommend you to do when you go home. It's all just a piece of the pie, right, and general health. But restoring range of motion and loosening the muscles that are attached to the vertebra are absolutely a few more benefits of a chiropractic adjustment. And last but not least, and there are more, but these are kind of the four major R's I want you guys to remember, are the releasing of good endorphins, alpha, beta, gamma endorphins, right? Things that make us feel happy, and especially when you get a cavitation. People love when they get that click, right? That we call a crack, which again is just nitrogen gas bubbles that are popping because the synovial joint, call that because it has synovial fluid in it, just like your knee or your elbow. There's fluid in the joints that are between each vertebra, right? And we, to make it more confusing, call them zygapophyseal joint. But, I just said that because I think it's funny, because people are like, what the hell is that? But these roof shingles that interlock at each level, they have something wrapping around them, a joint capsule, and there's fluid in them. So when you get movement, you get an adjustment, they're coming apart just enough that the bubbles inside of the joint are coming apart until, boop, pop. And you get the release of gas. Right now, it'll build up typically after about 20 minutes. Now, if you say could keep, quote unquote, cracking it over and over and over, now that could be crepitus, that could be the grinding of surfaces, and that's a totally different thing. But when it comes to the release of gas and a cavitation, well, that is, from the nitrogen bubbles in the synovial fluid bursting when the joint capsule is stretched to a certain degree. Right? And so maybe somebody won't get that every time with a chiropractic adjustment. Often that doesn't happen. Any chiropractor that tells you that is solely due to your bodily dysfunction is not being honest. None that I know would say that. We all take responsibility for our ability to perform the art. So, part of it is that. But if we're performing the art just as well on so many different people that we've seen all day, and some are not cavitating. Everybody's spine is unique and is different. One, two, if you just started seeing a chiropractor, well, maybe that joint capsule isn't used to stretching. It doesn't kind of have that mobility yet, right? It would be hypomobile, not very mobile at this point, and maybe it's hard to get a release. As you continue to come, maybe now we're stretching that joint capsule over time. If we're acting consistently, we're loosening the muscles around the vertebral joint, and we're able to get some more movement in there, and to help free up the nerves and to release those good endorphins and restore range of motion and do all that great stuff that comes with the chiropractic adjustment, and that takes consistency, right? That takes consistency. It's not, when they tell you to come in 3 times a week for 4 weeks, chiropractors, it's not some BS business scam or something. And I wouldn't say that to everybody. Of course not. Everybody's a unique situation. But for a lot of people, that does tend to be the case. And especially, if someone's been in a serious accident or something, I'm not going to go manually adjusting them right away, right? But it totally depends on the case. But we do a lot of tests beforehand, orthopedic exams, we get x-rays, we see exactly what's going on in the spine, and then, if it's appropriate, we'll perform an adjustment with the hands, or we can utilize a tool. We can utilize an activator gun, a more conservative form of the adjustment. We can do it many, many different ways with many techniques, right? But again, if somebody was in, say some severe acute trauma, maybe I'd want to see them 5 times just for a week, just so I could get traction. I may do nothing else. I don't know, it depends. I've done that before. And I've also adjusted someone, the second day that I've seen them. But I typically don't like to adjust anyone the first day because I want to see those x-rays first. I need to, build a report on what's going on. I need to see if you have any other conditions, do a full history, a bunch of exams. That's extremely, check your vitals and everything, get your family history. There's a lot to talk about before I'm just going to take you and, give adjustments, which are all focused, by the way, to which vertebrae are fixed and impinging on the nerves. We wouldn't do something like that ring dinger where they just cavitate everything. That's not real chiropractic, right? It should be focused and specific to where the fixation is, where the obstruction of nerve flow is, right? So that's what we're trained to find, at least if you went to a good school like Palmer, the fountainhead of chiropractic. How you doing, baby? Represent Palmer. But that's kind of the story with chiropractic adjustment. I'm very passionate about it. And, this is something that a lot of people don't know enough about. I think we should be getting spinal checkups every year. I mean, I think it's crazy that we don't get physical exams, spinal exams done, from our youth onward to make sure that, scoliosis isn't progressing, for example, at a very important age around the time of puberty where somebody's growing. And then if you get, especially left-sided scoliosis, you have all these issues with other organs and all sorts of things. And, if it's over 40 degrees on right side, you got to be sent to do this and that. This is something that should be monitored, just your spine in general. It's housing your central nervous system. So your spinal cord, that's an extremely important thing to pay attention to. And if you don't, maybe consider seeing a chiropractor. Also consider doing spinal exercises, postural exercises that will keep you in good posture and will help to take pressure off of the nerves when we're not there to give adjustments and things of that nature. Should you give an adjustment yourself? The answer is absolutely not. You're not trained in how to give an adjustment unless you went to chiropractic school, which is, by the way, 3 1/3 years of rigorous schooling. We take about 10 courses a trimester, and it's tailored towards showing us about everything that goes on in the human body. It's hard to memorize every single little thing over time when someone's probably 10 years out of practice, but you remember everything that's clinically relevant if you're a good chiropractor, and you know what to do, what not to do, and the importance of certain procedures, right? And you definitely know, somebody shouldn't be sitting there that's not trained in the art of chiropractic and just grabbing their head and twisting it and crack all sorts of ways. We are finding exactly where the fixation is, and we're putting an impulse right at that level with the proper speed, rotation, lateral bending, etc., to give an effective adjustment and to improve functioning, restore proper functioning of the nerves, right? So what is the risk with chiropractic care, right? So what is the risk? Somebody sees a chiropractor. You see all these things in Hollywood. People are scared to get their neck cracked, right? All that stuff. Guys, it is so safe. It's ridiculous. Okay? So what's the rate of injury when somebody goes to see a chiropractor? Out of 100,000 visits, any injury, and this could be like, oh, my rib hurts, and it's like a tiny muscle strain. It could be anything. Could even be things that are not very serious, right? Which almost always is. 40 in 100,000 All right? What is it when somebody goes to see their primary care physician? For those of you who aren't familiar, that's the doctor you go to typically first, which I think should be a chiropractor. That's a whole nother story. But unless it's some, acute serious injury where your leg is bleeding, or go to a hospital, please. Or you're having a stroke or a heart attack, go to a hospital. Go to a hospital. But, for a lot of things, right, we could be the first stop. May not be the last, but could be the first stop. The rate of injury in seeing a primary care physician is 153 out of 100,000. So 160 would be 4 times the risk, right? So it's almost 4 times the risk of suffering injury when you see a primary care physician as when you see a chiropractor. And guess where I found that from? I didn't cherry pick. I went to the National Institute of Health. I went to PubMD. This is something that, is more catered towards MD, and those are the stats. You look at other stuff. What's the risk of death from a chiropractic adjustment? Don't even look it up. It's a waste of time. It's like 1 in 750 million. It's like you better odds of getting struck by lightning. It's crazy, right? The rate of a serious adverse event. Another source said, 1 in 5.8 million from a chiropractic adjustment. The rate of a serious adverse event. Now, I didn't mention that statistic at first. I mentioned the one that honestly was the harshest against chiropractors, and it still showed it was a far lower risk of suffering injury when seeing a chiropractor. So is chiropractic dangerous? The absolute answer is no. It's more dangerous to walk or to drive by a lot. When you walk, your chances of taking a wrong step and rolling an ankle, messing up the knee, tripping and falling, your risk of being injured is a lot higher walking anywhere than seeing a chiropractor. Your risk of injury when driving is much higher than when seeing a chiropractor. So take that into account. Next time somebody tries to tell you that it's a very dangerous thing, it indeed is not. Statistics don't lie, my friends, right? And so that's what we got for you guys today. Before we go, happy birthday, Max Haller! Happy birthday, man. Oh, Max. You believe it's another year? You believe it's another year of Wend Wellness? I see Max about every day, not right now because I'm in Iowa, but I see him about every day. My best friend, go over there and we talk about everything from Wend Wellness to business to just shooting the shit and having fun. But we're always laughing. That's one thing I love is he's just someone that you're someone that I have a great conversation with every day, and I always say, I've said to him even recently, I'm so thankful for that, to have somebody that I can have such a great conversation with and such a great lifelong friendship that I know will exist forever. A family member, brother from another mother, my brother. But it's something. It really is something that I'm grateful for. And then the situation we have, living so close, and just being brothers. So you're a great dude, Max. Now, if you guys don't know Max, Max is the best way I could describe Max is a very intelligent graphic artist, editor, but could figure out anything, will fix anything, and he has the spare parts to do so in the house. He got all the spare parts, man. He's got like 2 or 3 drills. He's always prepared, which I respect, which is great. We laugh, but I do at the end of the day. And a great-hearted guy, and who's real. He'll tell you how it is, and he doesn't try to be anybody other than who he really is. And I love that. And we grew up so different. We always talk about we grew up so different. I was out playing sports. I was out banging my head against the wall, and Max was reading, and he was doing math at like 2 years old or whatever. And he was he was on computers a lot, and we totally different. And then we were delivering pizza, like 17 years old, La Casa, and we started talking, hanging out, and we figured out that actually we have a very similar mindset in so many regards. But it's very fascinating how we got there from two totally different places of origin, and paths and life. But I think you just end up around people who are like-minded, like-hearted, and that's why we're still friends, and that's why we're always going to be friends. Another thing you should know about Max is he is behind the scenes a lot in When Wellness. He's responsible for helping a lot with When Wellness, and from product development, which is coming out soon, my friends. We're going to tell you about the first product when I have all the units available to sell. I'm not even going to mention it until then, but he's in terms of making pictures and doing this and that and things for a website and whatever it is, and just great conversation and us spitballing ideas and going back and forth and figuring out the next steps for what we've got to do. Posting things on YouTube. If you've seen any When Wellness videos on YouTube, he's posted those. He's really helped tremendously with When Wellness, and I appreciate that. And it's been a lot of fun, man. It's been a lot of fun working on anything together. And Max has his own thing. If anyone needs a graphic artist, or you work for a company where you want anything edited online, he could make anything from commercials to ads to just editing the introduction for a show or a video or anything of that nature. He's your guy. He really does incredible work. Max Haller. So I'll give you his information if you guys want to send me a message. And Max the Cat is really good at what he does. I always say it's a pleasure when your family or your best friends are actually good at what they do, because you don't have to just tell people, oh yeah, this is my guy, he's great, and it's like your family member that really is mediocre, but you say they're great because they're your family member. Thank God, everybody that is in my family or that I'm best friends with is actually great at what they do. Thank God, or else I would politely not recommend them to do things, just to be fair to whoever it was. But check them out. Send me a message if you work for any company that might need anything like that, which I'm sure is a lot of you, or you're looking for something like that yourself. So anyway, we could talk forever, Max, but I'm gonna have to have a few things that I could still say at your wedding. That's gonna be an issue with a lot of the When Wellness people, huh? If I'm saying anything, but don't let this guy talk, he's wasted. I'm kidding, yeah, probably not. But dude, happy birthday. I hope you have a fantastic one. It's forever your day in the book of When Wellness, and I'll see you tomorrow, brother. Or at least in a few days when I'm back. So, love you, man. This one's for you. Let's see what we got on here. We'll say hello to the people. How are you, my fine feathered friends? Luciano, what's up? Jay Castillo, Kevin O, my guy. Chris Bryant, Derek Jones. Thanks, Ma. Yeah. Happy birthday, Maxie. Rick the Elect Assist. Lux Phil, Willie Isaac, Carl Bill, Almighty Gianni, Oakham Ranch, Reno. What up, Tom? How you doing, man? Blue Hunneds. Ali V. What's up, baby? Oh, Ma, I'm so glad. That's great. Gil wants his grapes back. Gil loves his grapes. Loves his resveratrol. And that red grape skin and green, but more red. Making me fit. Antioxidant you find in wine. That's how they say it's good for your heart. Vin Red G. Finch Julia. Hercules. What's up, man? Rocco D'Amico. What's up, Rocco? How are you, my friend? Skills Artist. Brandon Malone. Dapper Dill. Sydney Ray. Galicia. 40 plus fitness journey. BTX Mando. G Zilla. J Prometsu. Favorite King. My phone is getting crooked. What up, Kura Kraken? Pretty Productions. Because I didn't bring my tripod out of here. We couldn't pack much on the plane. Symphony Samuel. Holly, what's up, girl? And the first one on today was Meg. What's up, Meg? How you doing, girl? I hope you have a great day today. Hope you're enjoying your awesome son. And I'm sure is awesome. Haven't met yet. We'll meet at some point, I'm sure. But happy birthday. I hope he's healthy and happy. And happy today. I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for coming on. Happy birthday, Max. Really, Max's birthday. So not your birthday, Max's birthday. You gotta tell me when your birthday is again. But thanks for being the first one on. Thanks for the support. Thank you, everyone else. Thank you. You guys have fantastic, Derek. I appreciate that. Fantastic rest of your day. It's all we got for you, folks. We'll see you tomorrow, baby. Not sure where, not sure when, but we'll see you then. Have a great one. Thanks a lot. Happy When Wellness. We'll see you.